Good afternoon. We are back for our weekly discussion with Ray Zinn, the former CEO of Micrel, author of a great book and a great podcast called Tough Things First. And I forgot to introduce myself. This is Rich Nass with Open Systems Media. Hello, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing just wonderful today, and how about yourself?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. So we spoke last week about the issue of tracking cars and, actually tracking everything. But let's continue down the line of automobiles. This is one of the things that's so in the news today is autonomous driving. I actually have a bet with somebody that I made the bet a year ago, and we said in 10 years you would not legally be able to drive a car. What do you think? Do you think that you'll be able to drive a car in 10 years?
You mean in the sense of the word that you won't be able to get a driver's license, and because unless you have a driver's car, or what is the question you're referring to here, Rich?
Well, I'm saying, will you be able to get behind the wheel and actually drive, or will it be against the law in that the only way to get around is to have the car drive itself?
I'm not sure that will happen in 10 years. It's possible that in the not too distant future that possibly that could be the case, because we keep finding ways to protect ourselves and protect ourselves from everything. I remember back when I was a kid, we didn't have seat belts, and yet I'm still surviving today. And there are a lot of things that they've been imposed upon us. Didn't used to wear a helmet when I was a kid driving my motor scooter, and so it's not going to be too far-fetched to think that at some point you won't be able to personally drive your car, that it'll be driven automatically. Airlines today, what they call a Cat 3 status, can't land the airplane themselves. That's all done by computer. I remember years ago that you used to hand fly your airplanes into an airport, but now in certain airports you can't do that. It has to all be done by computer.
You're saying you can't land? It's not possible to land it yourself?
Well, if you have a Cat 3 configuration in your cockpit, and the airport is set up for Cat 3 landing, Category 3, it should say, then that's the way the airplane's landed. There are rules and regulations for landing an airplane, or for taking off, for that matter, stars and things like that. They refer to the kind of departure you can use to. You have to follow a procedure, and that's all programmed into the computer. And you don't actually fly the airplane. You're there in command of the plane, but you are not actually flying it. That's all being done by computer.
I'm not familiar with that term, Category 3. I mean, what sort of planes are we talking about, and what sort of airports are we talking about?
These are mainly the airlines. These are commercial airplanes, like American Airlines, Delta, airlines that fly people commercially. These are planes that under law are controlled by the FAA, and so there are arrival and departure patterns that are programmed in to the airplane, and to avoid collisions and other potential problems. They have to turn the airplane over to the air traffic control, as you would, and they will actually bring you in, and that's referred to Category 3 airplanes.
Okay, so maybe we will have the same categories for cars, and that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned. That's why I brought it up, is because we already have it now for airlines, and it's possible that cars will be the same way. I mean, on certain roads, I'm not saying on all roads, but on certain roads, you will be under control of the people managing the highways, and because it'll start there first as opposed to in the city streets.
So would you be comfortable sitting in the back seat of a car with no driver going 70 miles an hour down the highway?
Well, there may be a driver. For example, in the airplanes I was referring to, the Category 3 airplanes, there's a pilot there, and he still is in command, and I guess under a certain emergency, he can flip off the controls and take over himself. And as a driver of a car, you're still going to be in charge, at least as I understand it. And then if there's a problem, then you take over control of the car. I'm not sure that we'll ever get to the point where you'll never ever have control. The trains that we have, the transit trains are all computer controlled now also, and the engineer really doesn't do anything other than just be there in case of an emergency.
Okay. All right. I know some of the folks who are developing these cars have already said that they'll not necessarily put the insurance companies out of business, but they'll make it a completely different business, whereas your auto insurance is almost not necessary anymore with the reduced number of accidents.
Well, Rich, we've had this for years with airplanes. There's these what they call DCAS, these defense system, or TCAS, I guess I call it, where the planes detect each other in proximity and actually will avoid each other automatically. If they get within a certain distance, they'll actually go to a different pattern, and that has reduced the accidents tremendously. And we've had to do that because the airports are getting so crowded with all these planes taking off and landing all the time that they've had to have these collision avoidance systems. I was at a shopping center here just the other day, and they had this robot running around the shopping center, and I wanted to see just if it would avoid me, and so I purposely got close to it, and it stopped and turned and went the other direction. So it was kind of cute to see that, and so yes, I can see that with the sophisticated computers we have today, that we can do collision avoidance with cars, and that's where we're headed, and that will reduce accidents. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure if I look forward to it or not. Actually, I like driving, but I'm a little afraid of the intrusion of technology, if that's the right term.
Well, you're going to have to live with it. If, for example, if you get to the point where the refrigerator, for example, has this connected home, and the stores can actually see that you're short of milk and deliver you a carton of milk when you run out. That's you're getting right into the home. You're going to have to live with that unless you don't want that service, and then of course you can, I guess you can disable it, and I guess you can quit driving on certain roads if they require you to have this collision avoidance system as part of the system of the car, and you say, well, I don't want that. I don't. Maybe you'll have to take the back roads.
Okay. All right. I'm afraid we are out of time, Ray. Another interesting discussion. This one is one that we could probably talk about for a long time until this technology actually appears. So that was our weekly discussion with Ray Zinn. He is the former CEO of Micrel, and he does a weekly podcast called Tough Things First, and he speaks to me on a weekly basis. Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome, and thanks for inviting me again, Rich.